5 steps for feeling and releasing difficult emotions and dysregulation. We're going to talk about how can you attend to and feel difficult emotions, dysregulation, and release it and move through it. This process is vital for healing chronic pain and chronic symptoms. Now, you may be asking why. When we understand that most chronic pain and symptoms are neuroplastic, meaning they're occurring because your brain and nervous system feels in danger, one of the main triggers I see that initially triggered someone's chronic symptoms or is perpetuating them is that they are resisting feeling, deeply feeling their emotions or nervous system state. And when we resist it, what happens is we actually get incredibly dysregulated. It's a signal of danger to the brain and nervous system. So this resistance of difficult emotions and nervous system states can be one of the main things that is likely causing your symptoms to continue to be perpetuated or worsen over time. That's why a big part of my approach is teaching people how they can deeply feel their emotions or nervous system state and move through it and release it. So we're going to go through 5 steps. I use embodiment practices with people. This is a somatic practice. So it's not so much the cognitive, it's the somatic, feeling it in your body. Because difficult emotions, most people know what these are: fear, anger, sadness, guilt, shame, love, joy. Nervous system states, not as often known, but this would be like flight, fight, fawn, freeze, or shut down. Now, the process I go through, it works both for difficult emotions, nervous system states, and to be honest, there's a lot of crossover that, this is what kind of takes place inside when we're dealing with difficult things or have difficult memories. We have a mix of difficult emotions and nervous system dysregulation. And so we're going to go through these 5 steps of how you can fully feel and release them, because this can ultimately help you heal your chronic pain and symptoms over time. Now, before we even start this 5-step process, it's important to activate difficult emotions or dysregulation in your nervous system. Now, sometimes as you go throughout your day, you might just naturally feel it. Like this morning, I was having some computer issues. I had to restart my computer. I was frustrated. So naturally, as I went throughout my day, I felt frustration. I could have started this 5-step embodiment process right from there. But sometimes you can also activate it intentionally. You can journal, start to write about something difficult from your past or what you're currently dealing with. You could talk out loud. This is why in therapy, it often starts with me talking with someone out loud about what they're dealing with, and then we dive into their body. You could also think about it or visualize it in your mind, like visualize a past memory. Now, the one thing I want to be clear about here is I don't know your case. I don't know the trauma you've gone through. And so when we're activating these things, whether it's already there, the sensations are present, or you're thinking about it, visualizing it, talking about it, writing about it, we need to start small. Don't start with the biggest thing, the worst thing that's ever happened to you. We're going to talk about the healing window as one of these 5 steps, but you need to start with what you can tolerate sitting within your body in terms of difficult emotions or dysregulation. So I always advise people that you're better to start smaller at first, and then you can work your way up to thinking about, visualizing, talking about, writing about something bigger. But start small, then work towards bigger things. But you do need to activate something, and then you can go through these 5 steps for deeply feeling and releasing the sensations. So number 1, drop in and describe. We need to learn to drop into our body. So move out of our thinking mind and into the body. Sensations are the language of emotions and the nervous system. That's what they actually are. And so we need to drop in and start to be curious about what's taking place. And you want to describe it. Really get good and build up a language to describing sensations. Do they feel loose or jagged, hot or cold, smooth or rigid? Like, we really want to explain and describe this in detail. This first step, drop in and describe, it's probably the one that I'm using the most often. Even between sessions with clients, I just drop in for a few minutes. Notice what's taking place. Be curious and describe it a bit. So it's a great way to get to know emotions in your nervous system. And we want to get really good at doing this consistently and really build our language up of how we describe sensations inside. Now, describing sensations, this comes from somatic experiencing. So this is not my list, but as you can see, and I'm not going to go through every word here, there is a lot of words you could use to describe the sensations. Airy, alive, bubbly, I like the word bubbly, buzzy, chilled, gurgling, bumpy, pounding. What else do we got? We got sticky, still, stretchy, throbbing. So there's a lot of words that you can utilize to start to describe the sensations and get to know them in a deep way. Step number 2, deepen connection. So once we've dropped in, described the sensations, we really want to deepen our connection. One thing I tell people how to do this and how I do it is as you're breathing and attending to sensations, it's almost like with each exhale, could you drop in a little bit closer? So say you're feeling some stress and there's tension in your chest, in your neck. You might start with the edges. You're just exploring the edges of where the sensation starts to fade out. And each time you exhale, you're just moving in a little bit closer and exploring them in detail. This is what it is. We need to deepen our connection. The first thing that we need to do to actually release difficult emotions, dysregulation, is we need to drop in and fully feel them. And if it's overwhelming, there's steps later on that are going to help you because, again, I want people to be safe. But over time, we want to get exposure to feeling the sensations in a deep way. Now, when we talk about useful tips you could do, deepen your curiosity and awareness with each exhale, as I just talked about. Notice what happens in your body as you stay with the sensations. So as you sit with them, do they stay the same? Do they move or shift? Like, really be curious about that. Notice not just the intense sensations, but all the subtleties occurring within your body. This one's really important because when we feel intense emotions or dysregulation, it's almost like we're drawn right to the core, the most intense sensations, but there's probably all these subtleties taking place within your body. And it's abstract, so you really want to get to know it. Notice both pleasant and unpleasant sensations. When we have unpleasant sensations, as I said, we can get so laser focused, but also notice what's neutral inside, what's pleasant. And as I've said, be aware of how the sensations shift, sit still, move, ebb, or flow. Number 3, stay in the healing window. The healing window is something I talk about with every client. We talk about it in our digital course. It applies to when you're attending to pain or physical symptoms, to difficult emotions, to dysregulations, to unpleasant memories. We need to stay in the healing window. Now, I'm going to break this down of what this actually means, but we need to be safe. It's not always wise or useful to attend to things inside when they're too extreme. So an example of this is a panic attack. Most of us don't have the tolerance to drop into a panic attack and fully feel it. When I was first starting this process, I could only tolerate a little bit of anxiety, barely a sliver. And over time, my healing window widened, and I was able to attend bigger and bigger amounts of anxiety and feel quite safe and connected. What'll happen to people is they drop into a sensation that's too big, you're not going to be able to tolerate it, and you're never going to feel safe with it, feel it, and move through it. So we need to be wise of the level of sensation. Now, I'll break this down. As I've said, there are limits to the amount of sensation you can experience before becoming intensely dysregulated. If you're dropping in and deepening your connection and it's feeling way too much, the later steps in this process, this 5-step process, are going to be very helpful for you. So the goal is to safely feel the sensations, and stay in the healing window. Now, the healing window, as I've said, is the right level of sensation where you can tolerate being in your body without becoming excessively dysregulated. So if you're attending to anxiety and it's just building more and more and more, you're probably outside the healing window. So in my approach, we use a lot of graded exposure where we're increasing our ability to be with the sensations bit by bit. And we start at first attending to sensations more when they're mild to moderate, and then we increase over time. And how I talk about this with people is if we can practice somatic work, embodiment work within the healing window of what we can tolerate, it creates healing wins. It starts to teach our nervous system, hey, we're safe to be here. For myself, it's rare now that I feel really high anxiety. Like it's really come down over the years by using this process and other regulation skills. But even when anxiety is at a high level, I can drop in and be with it, create safety with it. And that's what helps me move through it quicker and release that energy. So if you play within the healing window somatically, you're going to get little healing wins where your nervous system learns, oh, I'm safe with this level of emotion or dysregulation. And then the next time, maybe a little bit more. That's the idea of staying in the healing window. It's so vital. So please stay within your window as you're doing this. It's going to create healing wins. And over time, that's going to help heal your chronic pain and symptoms. Number 4, shifting. Shifting is one of the most useful somatic skills you can do when attending to anything unpleasant inside. Emotions, dysregulation, pain or symptoms. Now, naturally, when someone's nervous system is quite regulated, what happens is their system naturally shifts between states of dysregulation and regulation, of unpleasant and pleasant. There's a flow, there's a fluidity. I always explain my partner, Anne, unlike myself, she's been very regulated. We've been married for a long time. We've been together for probably 15 years. And it is a beautiful sight to see watching her feel difficult emotions. I'm not at the level that she's at, truly. I've made a lot of progress over time, but Anne will come home, cry openly, express that she's sad. And she's in her body. I can see it in her eyes. She is with the sadness, expressing it, feeling it. And then she moves through it naturally. And within 10 minutes, she's joking around with her kids. And she's not faking it. She's now shifted to this pleasant, nice feeling of joy. And then later on, she'll be stressed about something at work and feel her stress. So there's a shifting that naturally occurs when someone's quite regulated. The problem becomes is when we have chronic pain, chronic symptoms, trauma, dysregulation, chronic nervous system dysregulation, our systems stop shifting naturally. We get caught in the unpleasant. We get caught in pain and symptoms. We get caught in our mind and memories that are unpleasant. We get caught with difficult emotions or dysregulation, and we have a hard time shifting out. So shifting is a really useful skill where we practice intentionally. You're going to need to do this intentionally if you have trauma, chronic pain, dysregulation, where you're shifting between pleasant and unpleasant. In a lot of my practices on my channel, I really explain that. We go through that together, but we need to practice intentionally shifting between pleasant and unpleasant. And if we can do that, if we could shift between pleasant and unpleasant, our nervous system learns to do this over time. Like for myself, my nervous system more naturally does it. Maybe not to the level my partner Anne's does it. I'm hoping to get there one day, but it does shift more easily where I can feel anxious and stressed. I can be with it, feel safe. And then maybe 30 minutes later, I start to feel calmer. I'm more regulated. I'm watching some TV, enjoying myself. So you want to practice intentionally doing this shifting because this helps create safety in your nervous system over time, and it helps you release this dysregulation and move through it. Number 5, safety signals. Now, I teach a lot of safety signals in my approach, and sometimes before I even get to dysregulation in the nervous system, difficult emotions, especially trauma work, I want to go through safety signals with people and help people find their unique safety signals that work for them. Really vital. So in my digital course, for example, we have a whole module on this where we're having people explore safety signals, find out what works for them. So if you're exiting the healing window, like say you were dropping into anxiety, you were describing it, you start to deepen your connection with it, and you're like, oh no, I'm getting out of the window, it's getting too intense, you're going to shift to a safety signal. So you can see how all 5 of these elements work together. You're going to shift to a safety signal. Now, sometimes this is external safety signals. So external safety signals could be a person, like spending time with a certain person. I've had people do emotional practices while cuddling in bed with their partner because that's where they felt safest. It could be an animal, so petting your dog or your cat. It could be a certain place. I've had people go and do their emotional work out in nature where they feel safe. So there's a lot of external safety signals. And if you don't have access to an external safety signal, it could be visualizing it. So you could utilize it in that way as well. Now, a lot of the time we're using these internal safety signals. It could be safe self-talk. So safe self-talk is really vital, really important to start to utilize. This is safe self-talk, cognitive messages you're telling yourself that these emotions are safe, the dysregulation is safe to attend to. It's just your system trying to protect you, and you can attend to it and create safety with it. Now, present moment sensing, attending to sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. I think I got them all there. Usually people have certain senses that work better for them. Like for example, sound works quite well for me. So you could shift to focusing on sounds around you and then shift back to the difficult emotions or dysregulation. It can be pleasant imagery, sensations, soothing touch is something I use a lot. We use certain tapping practices in our approach, breath work, and somatic movements. One of my favorites, if you're new to my channel, I talk a lot about somatic movement. So an example of somatic movement is say you were feeling anger. As you would exhale, you would push out in front of you, feel the tension, and then inhale, draw your hands in. Exhale, push out, inhale, draw in. So I do use some somatic movements in my approach that really originates from Qigong. I find it quite helpful. But safety signals are vital. Yes, we want to get exposure to feeling difficult emotions, dysregulation, but at the same time, we need to have safe connection with it. And by doing this, we can learn to more fully feel sensations in our body and release them and move through them. Now, even though I explained this 5-step process, as I said at the beginning, there is so much to explore and play around with here. I'm still playing around and finding what works best for me. And I've been doing this for a decade. But this is really vital. We need to learn to more fully feel emotions, dysregulation without resistance, and learn to move through them quicker. Because if we can do that, it is one step towards healing our chronic pain and chronic symptoms. Now, if you want to understand really more fully how my approach can help you heal, I have a video on 8 ways my approach can help you heal. So I'll put that link down below. You can move to that video next after this one. Because emotions and dysregulation, this is just one technique in my approach. My approach is very complex. Your chronic pain and symptoms are complex. You're complex as a human. We need a complex approach. So in that video, I break down all the different elements that I talk about in my approach and how it can help you ultimately recover. So thank you so much for watching. Please put your questions, comments down below. Hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you all soon. Take care.